Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out. It was the breakthrough first-person shooter. It was the Omega. It sold the 4 million first-day sales. You could talk about Call of Duty all day, and it has set itself on top as the king of the first-person shooter world. And Battlefield Bad Company 2 looks to dethrone Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Both games are out. We have video reviews for both. Actually, Rance did both.
Yes.
And you can guys check those out. But we're going to talk about which game we think is better. And Rance, you probably could start because you probably played most games. But let's start with the easy questions before the bloodbath begins. Can we all agree that the story from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 surpasses Battlefield Bad Company 2's story?
No,
Can we all agree on that?
I agree.
I don't.
I agree.
I blatantly disagree. That's actually a point I have in this. So
Yeah.
no, I blatantly disagree.
I feel like the Modern Warfare 2 story is more awesome than Battlefield.
Of course it is.
But the Battlefield story is a lot more realistic, and I believe more in in the Battlefield story than the Modern Warfare.
Okay.
I like the Battlefield story because it's not liquid shit prevented on my screen. That's why I like it.
You also have a lot more you grow attached to your character.
No, you
Yes.
don't.
You
really don't.
It's more
you
than
do that. You
Modern
do that.
Warfare does. Modern Warfare, half the time you don't even remember. Do you remember any of the names of the people you
Yes.
actually play as?
I do
Captain-
remember
I know
a
Captain
handful
Price,
of
I'm
them.
barely
Yeah,
playing
he's probably the most
One.
important. Him and
One.
Soap. Him and Soap are probably the
But
two.
that's because we know them from the first ones. Can we honestly say that we remember
Yeah, I
someone
mean, you
from...
play as 6 different people in that game. Most of them end up dying anyway. There's no attachment to the story because there's no character to attach yourself to.
I completely disagree with that statement. I think there's a greater attachment to the story.
And here we go.
By separating the attachment to the characters.
Mind you, this is not the bloodbath yet.
Because it's far less simple than I'm gonna follow this person's story and the linear construct that a lot of first-person shooters seem to follow. It's telling a tremendous event with a whole bunch of different events going on in a bunch of different places, and you have this idea that you are fighting this war, and that you're only a facet of the war, and that the war itself is the story, not just a bunch of people making wisecracks that are really one-dimensional, like in the Battlefield Bad Company 2 story.
Hey, they never actually like as I said in my review, they make cracks about games. Now, although you could probably say how a special ops forces soldier with a heartbeat sensor is probably from Modern Warfare 2, but they don't say that they're making fun of.
Well, there's definitely a couple stabs from that story, and it's funny. I like the satire to other games.
And it's playful stabs, in the commercials, in the commercial segments, how Call of Duty had fags and Battlefield Bad Company 2 had frags. They actually went above and beyond. They felt like it wasn't they felt like they didn't have to go through childish antics to get people to buy the game.
All right, but neither of those things play a big role in the game.
The ad campaigns are something to talk about because Battlefield's ad campaign has always been, we're better than Modern Warfare 2, and we're here to prove it. And Modern Warfare's ads are disgusting and weird. I don't want to talk about it.
Modern Warfare 2 doesn't have to prove anything.
And this is what we talked about before. So that's what I started writing about, and this is probably something we can work off of, I guess. I started writing this down. I said, often I think that the idea behind Bad Company 2 was to dethrone Modern Warfare 2. With a lackluster first game, nothing against Battlefield Bad Company 1, but with a lackluster first game, the dev team from Battlefield Bad Company 1 addressed what was wrong with Bad Company 1, added features that aimed right at Modern Warfare 2, which already came out. From there, their story's humor, and it's obvious that Battlefield Company 2 was going straight for Modern Warfare 2's glory. The whole idea was to dethrone the king. But on the other hand, Modern Warfare 2 has none of these problems going on. They are the king. They are the gold standard for the first-person shooter. This is what they're portraying, right? And they have the sales, the devoted fan base, which we're getting a taste of, and the recognition to stay on top. I mean, in their eyes, there's no question that they're the best. They have the rock-solid respect that they think they deserve. And I think, even when I was reading forums, I went around and was researching this topic on my DSXL, my dad. I was web browsing. Anyway, I'm reading forums, and I'm like, wow, everyone's saying Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield Bad Company 2, so much better. I mean, I'm watching discussions. The first forum I went on was I was reading and reading and reading and reading. I'm like, wow, everyone says Battlefield, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on EA's forum.
Well,
F
yeah,
it.
but if you Google, this very topic, Battlefield versus Call of Duty, I guarantee you, like 90% of the results are going to be in favor of Battlefield because Modern Warfare has nothing to prove.
I understand that. Yeah, I think in the way that Battlefield was pitched versus the way Modern Warfare was pitched, I really don't think these forums can be trusted, even though I wish I could, because after really thinking about it, Modern Warfare players don't really care about they have nothing to dethrone. They're on top. They don't care, and it's such a non-issue as opposed to Battlefield players, which are trying to say. I mean, they have to take Modern Warfare down from its high point, or else their game isn't worth anything.
Well,
because if you can't match up to the best, you're nothing. Especially in first-person shooters that do not age well and that are extremely competitive online. I mean, the most competitive genre is first-person shooter.
Think of it this
That's
way.
debatable.
Think of how well that like each one improved. Like Modern Warfare 2 basically used most of its actual story and everything just because everything they put in the game they just basically took from Modern Warfare because hey, it did cause sales, it was a very successful game, and they just figured, all right, we did that well in Modern Warfare. Let's just basically do the same thing with like updated graphics and more kill streaks. And like Battlefield, Bad Company 1, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was not that great of a game. Like the storyline was too. They try to like base it off like very funny, but it just went off mediocre.
A little too.
It was like Army of Two. Army of Two tried to be funny, and they tried to be but they came off like really yuck. It was not good. It just became
low
down.
Yeah. And then like because of this, they were like, oh wow, like nobody really likes our game. So how are we gonna make it better? Well, we make it more hardcore. We make it more deadly. We make it like a very good online and gaming experience, and that's what I think.
Because the first game wasn't, all right. I don't want to use the word crap, but just because the first game wasn't crap doesn't mean that Modern Warfare 2 is like, they just like were lazy and they didn't do anything.
They didn't really change anything.
They changed a lot of things.
When you compare, all I see, like from a person who really like, if you were to just throw a random person and say, okay, spot the differences between here. All I see in Modern Warfare 2 different from Modern Warfare 1 is just some more perks and some more equipments and some more kill streaks.
It's a far more polished, far more streamlined experience with far more game type options. I can't believe that this
I wouldn't say it's
happened.
more polished though, because in the very beginning the multiplayer sucked. Like I'm gonna be honest, I played 4 days on Modern Warfare 2. I'm not really biased.
Oh yes, in
either.
4 days, the fastest selling multiplayer game sucked online, of course.
I'm not saying that it's it did suck. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was horrible. Like you had all these glitches and everything, and all these hacks and all these problems, and I
think the glitches are something to talk about as a problem with Modern Warfare. You can't.
They've always had balance.
Battlefield has problems as well,
yeah.
But Modern Warfare being played by millions a day, guaranteed.
You know, there's going to be issues. There's people going to find.
It's like having. It's also kind of not fair because on your first day you have 4 million game testers. Wow, that's kind of that's think of it that way.
But if you look at all of their patches, I mean, glitches I tend to put aside because those are just technical issues that eventually get worked at anyway. But every single one of the 8 patches so far for Modern Warfare 2 have, aside from being technical things, have moderated their perks or weapon things to try and rebalance them to make them better. The only problem is every time they release a patch to make something better, they make something else worse. One of the examples being, I forget which patch it is, but one patch where it was, I think it was the second patch of the Akimbo shotguns, they went and upped the riot shield, so now it's even more impervious than it was before.
Remember we talked about on our show, they downgraded the shotguns, but then people used another perk, and then it made them deadly. It made it worse.
That was a glitch that got fixed out. That's something I shunt to the side. I usually shunt glitches or bugs to the side because everyone's gonna have
I think we are getting way too bogged down with the whole glitches thing here. I mean, first of all, Rans, I played a hell of a lot of Modern Warfare 2 in the first 4 days it was released, and I mean, I was not plagued by a million different glitches and a million different hackers.
I played 4 days total. I didn't play in the first 4 days.
Even still,
cumulative.
it's I don't want the listeners out there to get the impression, and I assume
Yeah,
most of them have already been playing Modern Warfare 2, because who
everyone's
hasn't?
played it.
But
Who hasn't
but like,
console?
it's not like a game you go on and then you're like, oh, you know, I only have a 50% chance of actually getting into a game that runs. This game, nobody even knows